fire broke out at 8 o'clock in the northwest corner of the Aerospace Museum. The 1915 building was easy prey for the fire. Within minutes, flames spread eastward into the museum, destroying all of the aerospace artifacts in their path. 9 engine and 4 truck companies fought the blaze, but their hoses were no match for the brittle foundation.
Basically, we're talking about wood frame. It's kind of deceiving when you look at the exterior, but really all it is stucco on the exterior of the building. In fact, in the area where the fire started, it's kind of a pillar construction of approximately 18 inches, hollow, full of wood. And once the fire gets in it, it actually acts as a flue for spreading the fire. Yet it's very difficult to get water on it because the stucco from the outside actually protects the fire from the hose streams.
2 hours after the fire erupted, the front of the old electric building tumbled down, the contents of the museum barely visible behind a wall of fire. The replica of the Spirit of St. Louis, priceless memorabilia from 2 world wars, one-of-a-kind book and plane collections are gone. It's unfortunate when you realize the city was in the process of restoring this building, and all of the antiques inside were going to be transferred to a new and safer location. Now there's nothing left. The only thing that might have survived this fire is an old safe, which holds the museum's insurance papers. But that brings little relief to Aerospace Museum President Mark Starr.
We're talking about irreplaceable intrinsic historical items, many from the National Air and Space Museum, many from local San Diego history, the people who made history here in San Diego, and it's priceless. It'd be hard to put a value, a money value on the value.
If you had to, can you give any kind of an estimate?
Well, I can only answer that by 800,000 people a year come to San Diego to see this exhibit. And if you can put a money value on that, what it means to San Diego and what it means to the park and our community, you get a feeling for my emotion about it.
Fire inspectors are still not sure how the fire started, although there is some speculation that it was deliberately set. 2 children were seen playing near the building when the fire broke out, but their connection with the blaze is still not known. Luckily, no one was injured. Damage is estimated in the millions. But again, how do you estimate the value of irreplaceable antiques? Janine Tartaglia, News 8, Balboa Park.
We're talking about irreplaceable intrinsic historical items, many from the National Air and Space Museum, many from local San Diego history, the people who made history here in San Diego, and it's priceless. It'd be hard to put a value, a money value on the value.
If you had to, can you give any kind of an estimate?
Well, I can only answer that by 800,000 people a year come to San Diego to see this exhibit. And if you can put a money value on that, what it means to San Diego and what it means to the park and our community, you get a feeling for my emotion about it.
Earlier tonight you were telling me that you almost expected something like this to happen earlier.
Well, it's not that you expect disaster. It's a 1915 building, and the city has made plans to upgrade all these buildings and move us to a large improved site and move another cultural exhibit in this building, and they're making plans to bring it up to date.
And now what?
We'll start over tomorrow.
The fire broke out shortly after 8 p.m. The first of 3 alarms went out at 8:13. The first fire units arrived on the scene just 4 minutes later. But by the time they got there, flames already were racing through the 63-year-old electric building. The exterior walls were stucco and plaster, but the fire moved inside the walls to old wooden beams which burned like paper, and the streams of water from fire hoses couldn't get to the fire. The flames began at an archway pillar at the northwest corner of the building. Fire officials say they're certain it was arson, but they don't know what was used to start the blaze. Firefighters tried at least 3 times to enter the building, but were forced by the flames and smoke. It was nearly midnight before the nearly 80 firefighters on hand had the blaze under control. All that remained this morning were charred ruins, a stark reminder of what only hours before had been one of the finest aviation and space museums in the country. Hundreds of people crowded up to police and fire barriers to view the destruction as firefighters continued to water down the smoldering remains. Mayor Pete Wilson toured the scene with City Manager Hugh McKinley, fire officials, and museum directors. The mood was somber, but even though everything inside was destroyed, one spokesman said the Phoenix will rise again from the ashes.
We're quite sure we can replace the Spirit of St. Louis for a sum between 100 and 150,000. That'll be, of course, one of the first things we'll want to do when we regroup and start up the Aerospace Museum again.
Well, we've got to start it up again. It's too important a part of San Diego. If there were any people in the neighborhood who were witnesses who could aid in the investigation, obviously they should come forward and assist. I cannot imagine what kind of sick person takes pleasure from a destructive sick act like this.
Police report a witness saw two youths near the museum just before the fire started, but so far no arrests have been made. And Mayor Wilson says at this point he is not considering offering a reward for information leading to the capture of the arsonists. Dave Cohen, News 8, Balboa Park.
Gave the electric building in Balboa Park its character which really cannot be destroyed by flames. The Aerospace Museum was a newcomer to the long hall of wood and plaster. In 1915, the building opened as the Commerce and Industries exhibit at the Pan American Exposition, Balboa Park's birth as a center of San Diego. And for 50 years, it was a sometimes natural history museum and a display center for everything from Canadian exports to home shows, electrical progress, and even folk dancing. During World War II, it was part of Naval Hospital. And then it became just another public building for nearly 20 years, until the Aerospace Museum moved its fledgling collection there in 1965. It was a collection of romance with the skies. It honored people of vision in the industry and its heroes. It honored the machines they flew and designed, from the earliest gliders of the 19th century to the space capsules of today. The star of the show was always the flying replica of the Spirit of St. Louis. Charles Lindbergh's original plane was built in San Diego, and citizens pulled together $50,000 to build its airworthy double. Lindbergh was just one of the millions of people who came to see the thousands of other items on display. The last fleet trainer, now destroyed. The first M1 that San Diego's aviation leader Claude Ryan ever built, now destroyed. The replica of the first plane that could land on water, it's gone too. But the collection of planes and every conceivable book, map, drawing, and film about aviation did not just appear from nowhere. Colonel John Williams spent 9 years collecting the largest archive collection on the famous Flying Tigers of World War II. It, too, is gone.
I had 15 volumes of archives. Many of the items which are irreplaceable are one in the world. And this morning, you can't replace them, they're gone. I don't know whether you recall the history of the Flying Tiger. We were the first one that beat the Japanese, Zeros. We had our problems, but we won. Here's another problem. I hope we win again.
Owen Clark was feeling the same optimism and the same pain. The executive director of the Aerospace Museum for 12 of its 15 years, Clark helped fill its walls and cubby holes with the aviation memories visited by nearly 1 million people a year.
The loss to San Diego is tremendous. The loss to visitors, school children, the old people who like to reminisce in front of a Liberty engine or in front of a Jenny, or come in to see the Navy's very first airplane, the Curtiss A-1. Those things, you just can't buy.
Certainly the museum can be started up again. It's easy to get old airplanes. But as Owen Clark has said, how can you replace the first M1 that Claude Ryan ever built? And how can you replace all of the love that people like Claude Ryan had put into the collection that was housed here? Cathy Clark, News 8, Balboa Park.
This debris did not come from the old electrical building. It came from right up there, the entranceway to the hospitality house. Just like its neighbor, this building is constructed primarily out of wood. It has no sprinkler system, and if it ever caught fire, you might as well kiss it goodbye. Most of the buildings left over from the 1915 and 1935 expositions are in the same shape. They were built as temporary structures, and unless the city renovates them, it is not required to equip them with sprinkler systems. Fire Marshal Don Farney says he's concerned about this, but claims there's not much that he can do.
When you look at a building like the House of Hospitality, it's quite deceiving because you see the stucco on the exterior. But really, just inside that stucco is lightwood lath, 2x4 studding, or basically it's just full of combustible materials.
Do you wish there had been a sprinkler system in that building, in the electrical building?
Well, obviously, I would like to have seen sprinkler systems in not only that building, other buildings in Balboa Park, but a lot of other buildings in our city.
But you're only the fire marshal. You can only go and inspect. You can't pull money out of your pocket.
We can only enforce the laws. We don't make them.
Okay, how about the Parks and Recreation Department? After all, they run Balboa Park.
We're saying that it would cost a tremendous amount of money to sprinkle these buildings, and there are other priorities to be considered. And last night was an incendiary origin, so it was not a careless act upon those who occupy the buildings.
What if there was another attempt at arson at another building?
Then we would probably have another fire.
So at the moment, the city has no plans to install sprinkler systems in the old wood and plaster buildings here in Balboa Park. It doesn't want to close them down either. The only other choice is to hope that none of them ever catches on fire. Bill Selby, News 8, Balboa Park.